To deploy a Uniswap remove liquidity contract, start by understanding the basics of Uniswap and liquidity provision. Uniswap is a decentralized exchange protocol that enables users to swap tokens and provide liquidity to the protocol. Removing liquidity from Uniswap involves withdrawing the liquidity tokens and the corresponding assets from the pool. First, ensure you have the necessary tools and software installed, including Node.js, a code editor, and a wallet provider like MetaMask. Familiarize yourself with the Uniswap protocol and its smart contracts, including the Uniswap v2 router and the Uniswap v2 pair contracts. Next, obtain the liquidity tokens you want to remove from the pool. These tokens can be obtained by providing liquidity to the Uniswap protocol. The liquidity tokens represent a share of the total liquidity in the pool and can be burned to remove liquidity. To remove liquidity, you need to call the remove liquidity function on the Uniswap v2 router contract. This function takes several parameters, including the token addresses, the liquidity amount, and the minimum amounts of tokens to receive. The minimum amounts are used to prevent front-running attacks and ensure that the liquidity provider receives the expected amount of tokens. When calling the remove liquidity function, specify the token addresses and the liquidity amount. You can use the Uniswap v2 pair contract to get the current reserves and calculate the expected amount of tokens to receive. Set the minimum amounts to a reasonable value to prevent front-running attacks. After calling the remove liquidity function, the Uniswap v2 router contract will burn the liquidity tokens and transfer the corresponding assets to your wallet. The removed liquidity will be deducted from the total liquidity in the pool, and the pool's reserves will be updated accordingly. Best practices for removing liquidity from Uniswap include monitoring the pool's reserves and the current market prices to determine the optimal time to remove liquidity. It is also essential to set reasonable minimum amounts to prevent front-running attacks and ensure that you receive the expected amount of tokens. In conclusion, removing liquidity from Uniswap involves calling the remove liquidity function on the Uniswap v2 router contract and specifying the token addresses, liquidity amount, and minimum amounts of tokens to receive. By following these steps and best practices, you can successfully deploy a Uniswap remove liquidity contract and withdraw your liquidity from the protocol.